Tommy, good to see you, mate.
How are you, mate? You good?
Mate, I'm fantastic. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm home for a little bit, which is, a little bit, I say a couple of days, but it's good.
How
is
is
very
the
well
tour
here,
going?
mate.
I've been loving the socials. I love seeing what everyone tags you guys in, where you're absolutely shredding.
It's been great. It's been, I think, especially after the last couple of years of not being able to, our goal this year has been to sort of play live as much as possible, go to as many places, not just in major cities, but regional as well.
Yep.
Just to get back in front of the fans playing live. So it's been good. What has been a bit grueling is the fact that I think we've been sick for what feels like the last 8 weeks. I don't know about you, but this year just colds, flus have just been like, oh my God. And I reckon we've done more negative tests than I reckon we've done more negative PCR and rat tests than I reckon Southern Tasmania. But we haven't cancelled a show, so it's been good, mate. And I've touched wood. I feel like we're on the other side of it. So it's good,
mate. It is, yeah. You're definitely right. Amy's got like the husky voice at the moment, and the sore throat and everything like that. And she's done all the negative tests as well. And when I was in France, I was thinking, it must be the cigarettes or the dust and pollen. And I was like, no, it's hay fever. It's hay fever. And then next minute I'm coughing up phlegm and everything like that. And I was just kept trudging on. But the weather,
you got to, don't you? Like you got to. I mean,
rain and crap.
And I think the fact that everyone's been so isolated for the last couple of years, like things like the flu. Like I've had COVID twice, but I tell you what, the flu I had this year. Well, I'm hoping my immunity is like going to be impenetrable, But like I tell you what, the flu I had, that was horrific. I'm not a good patient at the best of times, but I was not a good patient with that. Let me tell you,
mate. But you got to remember, the man flu amplifies everything.
Absolutely.
There isn't a man COVID that I've heard of yet. I've heard of like the flu bit, or is it co-flu or something like that, which is like the combination of COVID and the flu.
Amazing.
But
what a thing!
I know, what a time to be alive. You were just saying before the boys were ripping into you because I shared a post that you were coming on the podcast. Mate, I'm glad you're on here because we got some fun stuff to talk about.
We do. I've had a pretty good journey over the last through my life, and I can't remember what you said, but you put something up. You're like, talking about going to have me on the podcast, and I think it was like something like how to keep healthy on the road or something. And then my brother saw it, and he's like, "You are the worst person in the band I've ever who could talk about stuff." But no, they were just ripping on me for the stuff, but it was good. It was very fun. But I'm excited. And as I said to you before we started, I'm a little nervous too. Nice. Often you do a lot of interviews and stuff lately, promote the tour, but probably not talk the stuff we'll cover today. So it'll actually probably be nice, I think.
The different side of Tommy, rather than just getting all the music and
that's
all the video footage and excitement on the road. We'll talk about the flip side, which is I'm excited to talk about. And I know, I can't even remember. I was trying to work it out before when we first met. I was trying to think, was it back in like Denny Ute Muster, or then the Country Music Awards one here in Brisbane? And then
it might have been that.
Highfields.
It might have also been when Shepherd did the Spirit of the Anzac stuff with Lee Kernaghan, which was the 100 year of the Anzac.
Yep.
I think that's when we all sort of first connected. Do you remember? I think you were there
at the footy ground.
It was us at the footy ground, and it never happened. What was that? Was that an Origin? Was it an Origin game?
It was Origin.
That's right. It was us. It was us, Shepherd, Lee, Knowlesy, Wes Carr, and we were all going to play Spirit of the Anzac together. And then literally we're doing the sound check, and they're like, we're just going to delay the start of the game. It's really raining. And I don't know if you can remember, they put us all in a green room and just left us there. Yeah. And we're having a few drinks, a few fireballs. And then they just never thought to tell us that the game had been cancelled. And there must have been phone reception. And it never happened. So I got this close to playing an Origin game. It was this close. I was there. But anyway, amazing. I think that's when we first connected.
everyone forgot about us. And we're like, what the fuck's going on? Surely someone would do it. And then we're like, oh, we'll have a few more drinks and surely someone's going to come down. And we're like,
Yeah.
it's 8:30. Isn't kickoff at 8?
And like, remember, I think there was like a janitor or something come walking past. I was like, why are you guys here? They've cancelled the game. We're like, thanks heaps for that.
Yeah.
So,
you can tell they care about us. How, but mate, what for you with the music? Just quickly, like, obviously, it's what you do for a living. You're one of the most successful country bands in Australia, and I love your stuff. You've written with Amy, and Amy's on a song with you guys, which is also, I actually put it on the story today because it's an absolute belter. But was music something you always wanted to do as a career, or did you fall into it?
No, it was very much something I've always wanted to do. I've been very lucky in my life. I've known what I've wanted to do since I was a little kid, you know. Actually, Mum, because this is the family farm house where we grew up. So me and my wife went in house, in Tassie. So I'm actually the fourth generation in this one. And Mum and Dad, we grew up in this house, Mum and Dad. So while it's wonderful to have that, everyone just leaves their stuff here, right? So Mum found, we're trying to clean up, Mum found all our old school books. And I found a piece of paper from like grade 6. And it was like, what do you want to do when you grow up? You know, those types of things. And I said, I'd really like to play music, but I'd like to do bits and pieces on my farm. And it's literally what I'm doing now. So I've always been very lucky. I've known that wanted to do. Like Dad was a muso. So Dad would be out of the weekend, you know, cover band stuff, but he'd be out of the weekend gigging and playing functions at the casino or playing in the pubs in town. You know, he'd drag us along to sound checks, and I don't want to say it wasn't forced, but he strongly encouraged us to get into music and put us into lessons. And I'm very grateful for that, you know, because I don't know, it's a wonderful thing, you know. It's music's such a. I think Willie Nelson said, music's one of the best communicators. You know, you don't have to necessarily speak the same language, but it can all make you feel connected. And like this morning, I was just watching the Birmingham Commonwealth Games. Well, it must have been their closing ceremony, but it was on here every morning. And Black Sabbath are on there, like playing in front of the Royals, and Ozzy was doing his thing, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. And I don't know, it has the ability to bring people together, you know, and it's a very wonderful, wonderful thing.
Mate, definitely. People connect over music, and I wish I was pushed into it from a young age. My mum did book me in for piano lessons, and I just remember I sucked at it, and my piano teacher was like, just picture you've got like an orange under your hand so they're up tall, and then eventually she kept just saying, you've got flat hands, and I was like, fuck this. I'm out of here. I'm going to go pass a football. But I wish I stuck with it, because I'm learning guitar now, and I'm going all right at it now that I understand why I want to learn it, and it's training my brain. So I've got the lighter here for the candle.
You're fine.
But then yesterday I was trying to sing with it, and I'm like, holy shit. Like,
this is
a whole nother ball game. Like, you're trying to strum and
that.
Whoa, even harder. And I was like, I can't do this. And then I was talking to Amy about it last night. She's like, well, it's going to be good for you to learn a new skill. I was like, fair play. Like, musicians.
It's funny you say the piano. I think a lot of kids do piano lessons. Like, that's what I was put into, piano lessons. Nick was on guitar. I think Dad's brain, Dad was a drummer. So Dad wouldn't let us be drummers. We both wanted to be drummers. I still feel like I'm a frustrated drummer that wants to just be hitting things, you know.
Bashing cymbals and...
Yeah, you know, and I need to be making noise. But we put us in piano lessons, and I was similar to that because, you know, a lot of the way they teach you piano, especially back then, was like these sort of books, and it's like learning smooth jazz and this kind of thing. And like, so Nick's older than me, and Nick was coming home with a guitar and learning how to play like Metallica, Master of Puppets. And I was like, well, I don't want to do smooth jazz exercise 3. I want to do that. So I ended up buying a bass guitar, and and that rest is that's where I've stayed ever since.
Mate,
you know? But I can still.
That's how you better bring the energy to the show.
That's right. Like, I can still play a bit of piano, and I can play some guitar and play a bit of drums. You know, I'm definitely not a master of any, but I can give them all a good crack. You know, I'm faking my way. Well, I'm still working now, so.
Do you think it gave you an advantage in making a career out of music because you knew it was what you wanted to do from a young age?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think, man, I've been so lucky with that. Like, I think when I really think about that, like, I've been so lucky of knowing what I wanted to do. And, like, for example, I can remember, got to a point, I started high school and Nick was sort of going off to do, like, uni. And he was doing uni and
Yep.
he was going to become, like, a music teacher. And I was, even at that point, I was like, well, I want to do something in music, but I don't want to be a teacher. Like, I don't really want to be a music teacher. I want to play in a band. Like, so I left school grade 10, we have down here, before you'd go to like grade 11, 12, college. I had an apprenticeship. I went and got my apprenticeship. And literally the day I finished my apprenticeship as a carpenter, I resigned and went, cool, I'm going to focus all my energy onto the band now. I've just been very lucky to know that's what I've wanted to do my whole life. And also I'm even more lucky that I do it with my brother because we've kind of
Yep.
got the same passion for it. We've always put it first above everything. And sometimes maybe in hindsight looking back, that hasn't been the healthiest of decisions, but it's always come first. And even like, within our family too, I think our dad sort of wanted to do a lot more with music than he did. But, he was, he had this farm, he had wife and kids, he was life, man. He didn't. I don't think he felt like he fully got to follow his dreams. Same with his dad. His dad was a wonderful musician, incredible saxophone player. Could play like 20 odd instruments. Real renowned. Like there's been people who've come to our gigs who used to go and watch our granddad play. Then they used to go and watch dad play, and now they're coming to watch us play. So I think the sort of mindset between me and Nick and the upbringing we had, our dad would be like, don't worry about the farm. Don't worry about that. If you want to do music, give it a proper crack, and that's sort of been our whole thing. It's sort of like, well, let's take these opportunities and run with it. And luckily now, well, not luckily, luck comes from hard work, doesn't it? But now we've got a very wonderful career and we get to tour the country and even further than that, we make music and it's something that people really enjoy. So it's been good. It's been really good to us.
Yeah, and I think for me, what I sort of take away from that is really that you made a decision. It was what you were going to do, and you did go all in on it. I feel leaving school, a lot of people have dreams. I had the dream for sport, and people want to be music stars, actors, and all of this sort of stuff. But they then go, oh, better go study this or study that, and then they just stay there. And even though they aren't feeling fulfilled and they have this burning desire to try new things, it's like, even for me with what I do now, when I first thought about the fact that I could do it for a living, I was still like, it's not a proper job. Like, I need to go get a fucking real job.
Yeah. And you'd probably know now, doing what you do and doing what I do, you work probably harder than you do doing a real, like, than you would doing a real job.
100%.
But you love it. Like, you love it and you're passionate about it and all that stuff. And I tell you what, we Nick did very early on, I mean, really early on, for management, before we put out any music, we made a goal list. We wrote a goal list of things we want to achieve. And I think within about 3-4 years of that list, we'd ticked them all off. And there was things like, and if people never heard of us, we've also sort of doubled as Lee Kernaghan's band for the last decade. So we were going around playing rodeos and B&S balls. We were playing his songs, and one of the goals was do some gigs with Lee Kernaghan, maybe B's band. Like amazing, and it's been incredible. But we did that, and I think that I'm a real list guy. I write a list every day of things I got to do, and I think that really helps because just sort of gives you something to sort of focus on. And it's funny now we've kind of we're coming out of COVID and we're touring again and we're flat out. We literally had a meeting the other day. I was like, cool. What's the next sort of 10 years? What would we like to get out of this? So that's kind of exciting because I kind of think, well, what are we going to, what can we do? Where can we push it? What's the new, what hasn't been done in this genre and scene? And it's cool. I think it helps the creativity too.
When you set those original goals, were there ones on the list that you were like, that's, that feels so far out of reach, or did you truly believe that you were going to tick them all off?
Yeah, no, I really thought we did. I mean, they seemed, it definitely is pinch yourself stuff. Like for me, like one of the goals was win a golden guitar, which is the Australian Country Music
How
Award.
many are you up to now?
Oh, got 6 of them. There's a couple of them.
Yeah, mate, you did well this year as well when we were there. It was
amazing,
cool to watch.
amazing. Other things were like work with major artists, play major festivals. All the festivals we had listed, we've played, and headlined some. There was things like do a gig with major Aussie artists like Cold Chisel, and then it was like 4 years later we played before Cold Chisel at the Denny Ute Muster. Like things like that, and it's amazing. And I think there really is something in sort of putting it out there to the universe or whatever, and it sort of manifests itself a bit. I really like the idea of having a goal list here in this office. So when I've just done what I've done and done 4 shows over 4 days and not had enough sleep and stuff like that, I can sort of come back here to my little office studio and kind of look at the big picture stuff and think, well, are we still heading towards that? So yeah, man, amazing. Man, I'm like, I've got a tour, got a tour of the States. That's mind blowing, really.
It's cool to hear that you are, well, one, you have set goals, you've accomplished them, and then you're also looking forward for the next 5-10 years, because it's something I talk about all the time. And I always ask people when they've set a goal, it's like, well, where's that going to get you? Like, what are you actually doing that for? And they go, oh, it sounds cool. And I'm like, well, it's okay, and it's actually fun to start thinking about where you would like your life to be, what you would like to achieve over the next 5-10 years. And I feel so many people, because they don't do that, are struggling to make decisions and know what to say yes to and what to say no to. But as you said, it's like when you do feel fatigued, you're lacking sleep, you come home to the office, see what's on that goal board, and you're like, that's exactly why I've just done what I've done.
Exactly. And I think it's not just in the band, but within life, like obviously now, you met my beautiful Allie, and we got a little girl, and you're sort of working hard and away a bit, and I'm like, okay, this is, but is it still, what's the end goals with that sort of, trying to build something for our kids now, so they, we can leave them something and they can be comfy, and they can also have the opportunity to make decisions and, live a life. Because I mean, everything's so expensive. Like, oh my God, like,
yeah,
how are they, I think about mates and stuff trying to buy a house now and stuff. Like, my God, how's my little girl? My little girl's 16 months old. How's she going to do it in like 30 years, So,
yeah, well,
crazy.
I think I think, one thing is like people go, oh, this person got this from their parents, they didn't work for it. I'm like, well, as a parent, I'm not a parent yet, but I admire people who are like, well, why wouldn't you set your, like, this legacy up for your families where they can benefit off the back of your hard work and something that you're creating? For me, it just makes sense.
Absolutely. Like, I think that's, now I'm a parent. We lost Dad. Me and Nick lost our dad in 2016. And he was a very hardworking man, probably too much, it's probably, he died at 66. Probably why. But, I think hindsight's a thing. When you become a parent, you sort of see how your parent was. And he worked a lot, but that was sort of his way of showing how much he loved us. He was working and putting in the hours. Yep. So Mum didn't have to work. So me and Nick wanted to go to a good school. If he, like, I can remember things like him buying Nicky's first proper acoustic guitar. He would have worked extra for that. It was like, look, this is, he says here, and same with me. Like, Dad, I want to get a good bass, and he'd come with you, and he'd do the overtime and be like, there, So yeah, it's sort of nice when you sort of see that. I think now I've become a parent, I sort of see that and go, okay, makes a lot of sense. It's about finding the balance of that, and then also finding the balance of making sure you're physically there, to be with them, because you don't want to just be
definitely
at work every day.
Yeah, generational thing, and fucking oath. It's a generational thing, because I've thought about that for a long time with my old man as well. And now that I can look back and I'm like, well, the way they gave love, because they were brought up to provide and everything like that, he was showing his love by being able to give me all the things that, he afforded me. And,
Absolutely.
I think we're in a position now where we understand, obviously, there's consequences with everything. There's pros and cons.
Of course.
But a little bit more emotional connection and time is extremely important, but it doesn't take away from the fact that our parents loved us and they left purely because they were out working more. It's like, well, I've got a lot of respect for the fact that they did the sacrifice. Because I find, I'm not like I said, I've said multiple times, I'm not a parent yet, but what's it like for you going away on tour and leaving the girls behind? Do you find that
pretty horrible?
Yeah.
It's not horrific. It's not horrible when it's, say, 2 weekends a month. You can kind of work with that,
Yep. Yep.
We literally haven't had a weekend off for about 3 months. And, we've been going on a Thursday or back on a Monday. So I'm only getting a couple of days at home. That's probably, to be honest, it's been a bit much. But, we're sort of making up for 2 years of no work, touring an album that we can finally tour that was released last year. So we sort of knew this year was going to be hectic, and everyone's kind of known that. And I think, it's been good. I think we're going into next year with kind of like, okay, let's just maybe not work every weekend straight, whether it be you take a weekend off a month or whatever, or you go out and work for 2 months and then a bit of downtime. So it's just about finding that balance. And I mean, that's, because my brother doesn't have any kids, but I have a little girl and another one on the way. It's sort of readjusting that balance and making sure it sort of works and stuff. But yeah, we're going to try and, like, we actually took Evie on a plane recently for the first trip to see some friends on a weekend off. And that was good. That was really good. She was good on the plane, so that was good. So the plan is, hopefully, if we're doing something that's a bit sort of in a city that can kind of get around easy enough, they'll come and do a couple of gigs. They'll come along and be a part of it.
Nice.
Yeah, that's. I'm looking forward to that.
You're doing your thing.
It'd be very, very exciting.
Mate,
very cool. Evie, she loves music, man. It'd be just amazing, just at that young age, like, because I always have music on, and you just put, we just have the YouTube going, and she's at the age she can, when the ads come up, she can see down the bottom corner the icon of the next song, and she'll, like, if it's something she likes, she'll sort of look at me and be like, okay, here we go. Like, this is,
Buckle up,
like it's like she gets really excited, and it's incredible what they like. Like, she's like, this is so bizarre, but she really likes, like, Rod Stewart, and I mean, like, I know it's bizarre,
old soul.
But she likes, like, and she doesn't like his old stuff. She likes, like, his new single, like 77-year-old Rod Stewart.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know, bizarre, but loves it, just loves it. Like, dances. I'm like, my God. And I go, but she does like Amy, actually. She likes Nothing But Wild. She really likes Nothing But Wild. She likes a couple.
Mate, stoked. That's always.
She likes a couple of hours. But yeah, Rod beats us. Rod Stewart beats us and Amy any day of the week. Sorry, Amy.
She'll have to work harder and get some more, or both of you guys will have to get more tunes out for her to hear. Bloody hell. What, throughout the career, and obviously aside from the big C word, like, what have been some setbacks and sacrifices that have, had a big impact on you as an individual?
I mean, anyone who's sort of in this industry knows it's very, very highs and very lows. I remember I learnt that with my own sort of mental health and stuff pretty early on. So we did Australia's Got Talent a decade ago. And I remember that when we
did you really?
We did, yeah. Australia's Got Talent. We came second. That was sort of the thing that got a record deal and stuff.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. That's what I really like about that is that's what they don't know us for that. And I feel like we're not known for that,
Shaking it.
Yeah, I think so. Not that I wanted to shake it, but how sometimes people can do reality TV and then that's their definition of them. Yep. I feel like we've made enough good songs. People go, yeah. Anyway, I can remember the first audition we ever did. Yeah, Wes did that. Yeah. A lot of people did. I mean, a lot of people do, and it's like it with all them type of things. It's just what you take it, what opportunities they're giving you, and what you can build out of it. But I can remember the first time we did that, we went away and did the first audition, and everyone was saying yes. And it was like, we've got to think we're small town country Tassie boys, been flown to Melbourne, picked up in like a black Mercedes, driven to do an audition on TV. Everyone's like, you're the best, we love you. And then we went out and then we flew home. And I can remember waking up the next day and just being like, oh my God. It was like completely all of my dopamine. Every part of it was gone. So I learned that pretty early on. And that's something, not that I've struggled with, but it's something you really got to watch. Because, if you're going out every weekend, you're doing these big shows, of course, that's going to be such a big adrenaline rushes. And then if you start drinking a lot every week as well, that's going to just take you higher, but the lows are going to be lower, So
how do you manage that then? Like, because obviously when you're on the road, it is easy to want to.
Well, this is probably where the boys said,
even during.
Yeah, this is where the boys are probably like, you're the worst to ask about that. I've had I have been a big drinker over the last years. I recently just did Dry July, and I think now I've got easy.
You ended up raising? You did really well with that.
It was wonderful, man. I think we nearly did $2,500 raising for that. And I started early, and honestly, I've done it a few times over the years before, but this was the first year I did it, and I didn't miss it at all. Hey, I did not miss it at all. And in fact, I probably enjoyed it more. I was like, I don't know, there's just something about makes you a bit more present or something. And for me, I think now, coming home and feeling so much better and stuff, so that's been a really, that's been a good thing. That's been a good thing. But the at the moment where the band and everything
you missed about it previously? Sorry.
I don't know. Look, honestly, I probably have used it over the years to maybe cover some insecurities, I think, which if people know me and what I'm like on stage might sound ridiculous because I'm like this big, loud, confident
you're a ball of energy, bro.
Exactly, yeah. And I think I channel it all into that. I'm probably a little bit ADHD, but I think I channel it majority of the time into good use, But I think often, I've probably used booze to cover some of them insecurities because, like we've got to do these amazing things and work with these talented artists, and then I'm sometimes like, wow, how did I get involved in this? So that's probably been one thing, and I think also,
what if you don't mind,
like also just thinking you need it for the. Well, I think maybe thinking you need it for the confidence. Maybe have a couple of drinks, loosen up to go out on stage. I'm better. I do better gigs if I'm completely sober, and I'm more present and I'm more confident, which is which is something I've really learned and something I really enjoy. Like now we'll have our little pre-show fireball, but that's kind of it pre-gig, and then if you want to have a couple of drinks afterwards, you can. That's kind of the thing now. So that's been really good. But yeah, I think maybe using it as a way to think you need the confidence, but you don't at all. And often people, and I think also in this industry, having a few drinks and everything is so common. There's not many jobs you go to and you rock up and there's like, hey, we've got your bottle of Jack Daniels and bottle of vodka and bottle of Fireball and carton of beer here. I've built houses for a while. That definitely didn't happen.
It is hard. Like when we go to Shepherd shows in the green rooms there was a stage in must have been like 2016, 2017 when I was super disciplined with no alcohol and no bad food. And they actually changed the rider to have like carrot sticks and all of this healthy stuff because everyone was doing a health kick. And now we're sort of, when I say weed, they're back to having a few beers in there, champagne, and I love Skittles and M&Ms. And I always go in there with the best intention to be like, don't do it. And they just stand down, and then eventually I'm just hooving down a box of Skittles and knocking a beer back.
The things that I'm shocking for, if there's like, a nice sort of cheese platter with some, salami and some cabanossi and, oh mate, and some nice dip. That's it. Like I can't. If I touch that, I'm having too much of that. But no, it's funny. Look, I feel like I'm in mentally and physically, I'm in the best place I've been in it probably at least the last 5-6 years. I feel very in a good spot. Know what
That's
know what I
awesome.
want, and yeah, it's good. You got to
What was
learn.
sort of the turning point to get you there? Like, was there a moment where you sort of just were like, I want to make some significant changes? Because it is like, as we just discussed, it is very easy when you're, I guess, on that same routine of touring and all of that to just have a beer after the show, eat the cheeses and stuff like that. Was there a moment that stood out for you where you were like, look, I want to make some changes here?
Yeah, I think Ali getting pregnant and having our little girl was definitely a big, probably a bit of a wake up. And I think realizing that I have to be responsible for this human being and make sure this human being grows up safe and healthy and is another good human being. So that was a big thing. I had nearly a year ago, I've struggled with my weight a lot in my life. I think I was actually trying to work it out before I jumped on here with you. I've fluctuated, like losing and then putting back on weight up to about 30, 40 kilos at a time, probably like 7 or 8 times in the last maybe 15 years, going like
Yep.
getting really big and then sort of going real extreme the other way, and I'm a man of, I'm very much an all or nothing type of bloke, which has often been a really good thing. As I've channeled a lot of that into my career and band and stuff, but yeah, that's also had its negatives, obviously. But yeah, so I made the decision when COVID hit. 2020 for us was meant to be sort of the year. We had 35 shows booked on a major tour through Canada. We had just signed an international record deal. We had 2 months in the States of promo, going over it. We'd been in meetings with the record companies going like, we're going to put $500,000 behind a single. We're going to do it was meant to be the year. We were playing basically every major festival, country festival in Australia. It was like the year. And then all of a sudden it was like, we are at home. And I really, that mentally, hindsight now, really got into a pretty bad place. This was pre our child, and I kept myself busy on the farm. I thought, well, I can't do that. So, I would get up and I'd do a day's work, whether it be working the fields, fencing, fixing sheds, whatever. I did a lot around home. I renovated this house during COVID, but I would then get to 4 o'clock in the afternoon and go, oh, well, I'll have a beer. I'd have 9 lagers and then I'd, go cook a couple of steaks and then, not really bad. So I got myself in a really bad way and I decided I need some help. So August last year, I made the decision. I actually had a gastric bypass surgery, which is a weight loss surgery, basically. Sort of makes my stomach smaller, bypasses a bit of my small intestine. And yeah, that's been probably one of the best things I've ever done. I pre-surgery, which is so bad, I was 170 kilos. I was really bad way, and mentally, physically, really bad way. And
what did it feel like for you when you were at that 170? Like when you saw yourself in the mirror and stuff like that. Like what was that like for you?
Oh, really bad. I remember we went and had a meeting with the surgeon, and my wife came, and I've never talked about this, but it was really bad because I'd sort of got to a point where I don't want to, I didn't care. And I know that sounds bad, but mentally it was just like, whatever. And I remember sort of saying that to the surgeon, and I was like, I need some help. I've lost and put on weight so many times. I really felt like I no longer had the mental capacity or care. I didn't give a shit. I was like, I actually don't give a shit. Whatever, whatever. And I remember coming out of that, and Ali was a bit upset by that because, I'd probably never really vocalized that before even. So yeah, it really helped. And unlike, after I had the surgery, again, I'm a pretty bad patient. I was coming off the anaesthetic and stuff, and coming off the anaesthetic, and there's like, what really threw me is when I woke up from the surgery, I woke up from the anaesthetic, there was like a nurse, because they sort of monitor you, make sure you're going to be okay. And what felt like she was there. So I literally woke up and there was a nurse going like, and looking really worried. And I was like, so I've come off this anaesthetic. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, what happened? I'm like, what's wrong? And they're like, nothing. I'm like, and so then I was really paranoid for about 3 hours. And I kept saying like, I shouldn't have done this. Shouldn't have done this. And then the surgeon come and saw me the next day when all the drugs had worn off. And he's like, how you going? I was like, I'm a bit sore, but I feel mentally good to feel coherent at least. And he's like, yeah. He said, you kept saying you shouldn't have done this. He's like, just let me tell you this. He said, your liver and pancreas have that much fat around them. He said, if you hadn't have done this, you wouldn't have made it to 40. He said, you needed this, and this is going to save your life. And it has. I mean, I'm under a year later. I've lost 50 kilos. Did a bunch of blood work last month. Liver's great. Everything's back. Cholesterol, everything is 100%. And I'm back at. Also, I'm back. I've taken myself back to the gym, and I'm making a lot of healthy decisions. It was the push I needed to really make some big lifestyle changes, and it has been the best thing I've ever done. And the other thing is, and I think that's why I reached out to you, we sort of I wanted to talk about it. This is really common. It's very common. I didn't realize the amount of people that have had this surgery, but also if you need a bit of help, which I obviously did, it's totally fine, which I've realized now, it's actually totally fine to ask for help. And I needed help, and I'm glad I have. I feel like I'm a better musician, I'm a better person, I'm a better husband, definitely a better dad, and I'm going to be here a lot longer to make sure I am. So yeah, man, it's been a journey. The last few years have definitely been a journey, but I feel like as I said, I feel like I'm in the best place I've ever been.
Thanks for sharing that. I think you touched on some points that even I haven't thought about as much as I'm thinking about right now. Like, you get to a point where you're just mentally just tired of doing the yo-yo and of stop starting things. And this is not just with weight loss. People experience it, and myself included, in multiple areas of our life, whether it's working towards a health goal or a financial goal or a lifestyle goal, or even your relationships. I know people who are on off with their relationships all the time, and it just becomes tiring to the point where you're just like, I couldn't give a fuck.
Yeah, I was definitely there. I was definitely there, man. And I think, on top of that, probably the reasons I kind of felt a bit of that too, Lockie, is for literally a decade or longer, I'd put the band, our music, as my number one priority in my life. And then COVID happened, and it was like, all them wonderful things I talked about were meant to happen. They were all gone. I was literally at home thinking like, well, hang on, I've just spent my life working towards this goal, and now I'm not even allowed to go 5 kilometers from my house. That really messed with me. And I think now I'm out of that. But that was just like, I guess it almost felt, and a lot of musos would probably understand, felt hurt. A lot of people did. I felt hurt, and I was like, man, I've been forced into unemployment. I've never asked for a thing off the government in my life. Like, everything
you don't even get a redundancy.
Yeah, it was like, felt useless. So a lot of, not just for musos, but for everyone, the last couple of years has been pretty mentally challenging. I think for a lot of people. I feel like I've come out the other side, and I know what I want and what I'm about. And as I said, mentally and physically, I'm in the best place I've been in years. But yeah, man, bit of journey.
And that's the thing, though, that asking for help and sort of reaching that, your limits, your thresholds, and putting yourself in the position to receive help has now put you in the mindset and the framework to be able to be the best version of yourself, and literally start being a better dad, better muso, and all of those things that you love doing anyway, rather than just trying to continue to push shit uphill and have this, battle going on inside, and obviously physically as well, that battle. So to then obviously do that, go on to lose 50 kilos, be feeling more confident, healthier, and the coolest thing as well is like it gives you more years. Like if you were dead by 40, you've got this legacy that you were working towards creating that you don't get to see out. And for me, a lot of men that I work with who are in partners at law firms and CEOs and stuff, it's the same thing. They're working themselves to the fucking bone. They're missing out on family time, and they may be providing, but I'm like, it's not worth it because you're going to be dead by 60 with the amount of stress that you're carrying. And is it all really worth it? And I think you said something a moment ago as well, where it's like you had clarity throughout COVID, like you really got clear on who you were and what was important to you. And I hope a lot of other people experience that as well. Much like you, I was fucking freaking out at the start of COVID, being like, oh, my workshops and everything's done.
Yeah.
But having that downtime to really think about what's important and spend more time with family and do other things like that was actually made me realize that I had so many things that were out of, not balance, but I was giving time.
Absolutely. And I mean, like, so for people out there, like, who don't really understand the music business, like, I mean, you wouldn't think of it, but like, no, not really, neither do I. But, like, I think, like we're a small business, basically. We're a small business that employs musos, sound guys, lighting guys. Yes, we make some money off streaming. Fuck all money off streaming, unless you get something that goes ballistic. You need to be TikTok viral. Yeah. It's on the list, but me and Nick, we just want a Geronimo. We just want one of those, and we'll be happy. But.
Yeah.
So that's one of your revenue streams, but I mean, really, the biggest revenue stream for guys like us is going to be touring. And when you're touring, you're then taking your merch and all that stuff, and it sort of feeds the machine, And that was literally taken away. It was like, no, you don't, not allowed to do that anymore. And I think there were so many frustrations seeing sport being able to continue, and then we weren't allowed to. Go to festivals, but sports teams were allowed to come into Tasmania, and we weren't. It was just like, guys, a lot of double standards. It was rough. Let's hope that never happens again. That was rough.
Yeah, that was a very frustrating time to observe all of that sort of stuff.
And I think just everyone got so divided. Everyone is so divided, and it still feels like we're there. Like, you don't know who to trust. It's like, oh my God. Yeah. My God, I just worry about me now and just take it all with a grain of salt.
They say that like adversity or how people deal with pressure is how people really are. Like it's easy to pretend to be someone you're not, and then pressure comes. It's like, this is really where you're at. So it's why I'm a big believer in seeking challenges, and obviously not one, the best thing about seeking a challenge is if it's too much and you want to tap out, you can, right? No harm done. If it's a physical challenge or put yourself in an uncomfortable place mentally, you can tap out, right? But you've learned, you can take away some lessons from that. Situations like COVID and various other things that happen to people throughout life, like loss of family and loved ones, or going bankrupt, etc. You can't tap out of that. So I think it's really important to find ways to build resilience, but also have to look at how you're showing up in certain ways as well. Because, Matt, I used to be a fucking prick. Like,
it's not funny.
Dealing with adversity. Yeah. You're laughing at me, mate. Come on. But I laugh at myself now. Like, I think the way that I used to carry on, and don't get me wrong, I'm still not perfect. I still do jump the gun occasionally, and then I look back and go, you're a dickhead.
Yeah, man.
But sometimes the emotions
men are interesting. We're interesting creatures, like I think a lot of that's, and often, doing this job, you meet so many people and you have to deal with so many people, and, often when people are prick or whatever, I have to remind myself, I go, well, they're like that. And usually it's because they've got some sort of insecurity within themselves. Usually it's something within themselves that they're not happy about, and they project that. But when you start projecting that to the world, that's all you're going to get back as well. You know, I think I believe if you're putting out good, positive vibes, that stuff will come back to you. You know, so that's what I try 100%. To do. But yeah, we're strange beasts.
100%. I do have to say though, you and Nick and your crew are like, especially once again, I'm not in the music scene. I'm just like a spectator. Some of the most humble and like genuinely just good blokes, and or you know, even you. I still remember it was like 2016 when you were playing at what's the hotel, the Shamrock, or I can't even remember what the hotel was in Toowoomba. And you're like, mate, come on up, have a few beers. And I was like, oh, Amy's not coming.
Yeah. Whatever one it was. Yeah, it might have been that one, or it might have been the.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's Highfields.
Done the one at Highfield. Yeah. We've seen you a few times.
There. Now. It's all in there somewhere. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Look, I think we're like that because we had wonderful parents who taught us to be like that. You know. And again, I mean, it's not going to get you any further being an arsehole. Like, you know, most of the time, 90% of the time, 99% of the time, everywhere you go to these festivals and gigs, everyone's doing their best. You know, everyone's doing their best. Like, I'm at, just out there trying to do my best every night, do the best gigs. So, you know, if you just go into these situations and just be a good try and be the nicest bloke you can, it's going to be better. It's going to work out better for you, you know.
What's just to finish up, like what's one goal that you gentlemen set that you're working towards over the next 5-10 years? And it can be family related, it can be band related,
I think,
whatever.
You know, there's lots of little ones. You know, there's lots of little bits and pieces. Like, for example, like I'd love to have an aria. You know, and we've been nominated like 3 times.
Mate, you'll get
I feel like we're worth one. But, you know, there's lots of little things, sort of career goals like that. You know, some stats things we'd love to achieve with some certain singles. But I think really the big goal is what I look at what we're doing. I mean, I'd like the Wolfe Brothers to be the most successful Australian country music group. Period. And I think that's very achievable, you know, and I feel we're really setting ourselves up with all the hard work and the hard yards we've done over the last 10 years. And I feel like we're really in a good place. I think creatively, me and Nick are writing some of the, you know, best stuff we've done. And I feel like, you know, that's just maybe come with time, you know, time and life and experiences. And I think especially in country music, that really helps when you're writing these songs, you know. So I think there's a lot of that. But that's sort of the big goal of where I'd like us to be, you know. And so I sort of look at that as the big picture and then sort of look at little steps along the way of how we're going to do that, you know. And we've got some really, really special things that are coming up. And, you know, I can kind of go, no, next year we've got a new album, and then the year after that we're doing a very special project. And then, you know, to make that goal reality, what else we got to do, you know? Who do we need to work with? Do we need to try and play these different types of festivals? Maybe we need to connect with a bigger audience through another platform. So, yeah, it's fun. It's fun, man.
I love that you guys are thinking so far ahead. I think it's so important in achieving the outcomes.
It is, you know, and I think the old man didn't say that. He used to say this to us. I know he didn't come up with it, but he used to have it written on his desk. Failing to plan is planning to fail. And bang on. It is so bang on. And I think when I sit here on this podcast and I even say it out loud, some people might laugh. I want us to be Australia's most successful country music group. Like that's a big thing to say. But then I think when you're planning and you kind of go, okay, you can kind of break it down into little steps, you know, little steps along the way. And we do the same with all sorts of things like that. And I do the same with all sorts of things in my life. Like we talked about family and stuff like my little girl, Evie, like I talked about, how on earth is she going to be able to buy a house when she's ready? Me and my wife we've got to set up a savings account. I put in $25 a week. I think she puts in $10 a fortnight. We've put put it out to the grandparents. We said, if you want to put in a bid, I think Mum throws in 50 a month. Her dad does the same, or maybe a fortnight. The girl's 16 months old. She's got she's got $5,000. She's got more money than me. You know? But by the time, by the time she's, 25, 18, 21, whenever the time is ready, we can go, well, we have this money. No, you're not going to go and spend it on a car or something. But if you want to buy a little unit, if you want to do something, we've helped you set you up. And then my hope is they'll do the same when they family or whatever, So it's all. Yep. I think you just got to. I don't know. I've learned you got to break it down. What's the little things you can do? Because $25 a week, that's just a cup of coffee every morning. Well, it's probably actually that coffee at the moment. It'd probably be a bit more like 35. But you know what I'm saying, don't you? Like, So just I think setting the big goals and then breaking down the steps to get to it.
Yep. All those small, consistent daily actions add up.
Absolutely.
Like that compound effect. Where can people follow along with the Wolfe Brothers? And one other thing, I love that you're vocalizing your goals, because when we were in Nashville, one thing I've been to America a couple of times and I've never really understood this whole American dream, but being in Nashville and seeing how supportive everyone is there, and just how everyone wants to connect you with someone or uplift you and help you really achieve your goals. I've never experienced that in Australia. Like,
Australians
people talk about it.
Yeah,
but
Australians,
we're
great. I think we're really great people, but we do have a bit of that. I don't know whether it's tall poppy syndrome or whatever. Like, there's definitely an element of, I don't know if they want to pull you down. I don't know if it's a cultural thing or whatever, but that's something it's funny you bring that up. Something I really notice in the States is when someone's successful, the mindset is more like, look at them, good on them. They've worked really hard for that. I wish that success for me and my peers as well. Not everyone here in Australia is like that. I'm generalising, of course, but that does tend. How often do you hear like?
Yeah.
How often do you he's lost it now, mate? Nah. He's had a big song now, mate. Not what I thought he was. I saw a mate put a Facebook post up about is it the Kid Leroy, right? He's like he literally is a kid,
yeah, Kid Leroy, yeah.
And here he is, he's like got the biggest songs in the world, he's selling out arenas, and then he had to cancel a couple of shows. Now he obviously that probably wasn't handled the best way. In his defence, he's a kid.
Yep.
Maybe his team might have handled that a bit better. Yep. But my God, we should be celebrating this guy so much. He's working with the biggest pop stars in the world, the biggest pop stars in the world, and artists are wanting to work with him. What a talent! He's dominating.
Yeah.
But I remember when he cancelled them shows, every media outlet, everyone was just like slagging him, just absolutely slagging him off, and I was like, "Oh my God!" Like, this guy's should be look at this guy's success, And I don't know, man. It's something I really want to do. Is I just want to not only do all the goals and stuff I talked about, but I want to really be happy for other people's success and make that part of my mantra about being more uplifting and happy to people. People deserve that, People deserve success, and often the people that get it work their hard. It's like, good on them, well done, And I want to be a part of an industry that really does that. That's my biggest goal, I think, because sometimes it.
And that definitely does start with us. I catch myself all the time, and I'm like, fuck, why am I doing that? I'm stoked for them, but there's always this part where it's like, I wish it was me. And it's like, well, it can be you, but if you raise the whole standard of whatever field of work you're in, it's like, it only benefits everyone. And that's where I think a lot of us, and even if we say, oh, I'm just joking, it's like, yeah, you are.
Yeah, and you're obviously thinking it because you're vocalising it, Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
But so where can people follow along?
We're
going
to
have coming up?
Play everywhere till we die. Website is just thewolfebrothers.com, but socials, Wolfe Brothers, Wolfe_brothers. Wolfe has an E. Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. We're on all of them. YouTube. We're on all of that. You know, you don't have to look too far to find us. But yeah, we'd love people to follow along the journey. You know, man, it's been a very wonderful one so far, and we've been very grateful for the support we get from the industry and the punters. You know, like, mate, we did a bunch of pub shows this week, and it was, all within sort of an hour or two of each other, sort of Sunshine Coast in Brisbane, mate. Full houses, people singing along. It was bloody wonderful, very, very wonderful. You know, so yeah, man, I'd love people to, if people want to come and watch me dance around like an idiot on stage, you know,
on your road to being the biggest band in Australia.
Yeah, just like, I think we've definitely made some songs that have really connected with people and made people feel something. And I'd really like to try and keep continuing to do that. That's actually what it's about. You know, it's all about the song. Everything comes back to the songs and authenticity within those songs. That's the best stuff.
Mate, Tommy, thanks so much for coming on, mate. It's been awesome, and I appreciate you sharing everything that you've shared.
It's been a journey. Awesome. We covered a lot of ground. We solved most of the world's problems today. So, yeah, hey.